So our first reader will be Suzanne Frischkorn. She's a Cuban-American poet and essayist, author of 4 poetry books, most recently Whipsaw from Anhinga Press. It's coming out in 2024 this year, April. And she also is the author of Fixed Star from Jackleg Press, published in 2022. She has 5 chapbooks in addition to those 2 full-length volumes. She's the recipient of the Writers Center Emerging Writers Fellowship for her book Lit Windowpane. The Aldrich Poetry Award for her chapbook Spring Tide was selected by Mary Oliver. She's had a Connecticut Individual Artist Fellowship and a 2023 Swim Residency Award at the Betsy. Her writing has recently appeared or is forthcoming in Denver Quarterly, North American Review, Salamander, South Dakota Review, Latino Poetry, a Library of America anthology, edited by Rigoberto Gonzalez, Library of America 2024, Braving the Body by Harbor Editions in 2024, and A Mollusk Without a Shell, Essays on Self-Care for Writers, published by University of Akron Press in 2024. She's an editor of $Poetry is Currency. I'm not sure how you say that, that name. And she serves on the terrain.org editorial board. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for being here, and welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so happy to be reading with Jen Karetnik, which I've been wanting to do. I think our books will be speaking to each other quite a bit. I'm going to be reading from Whipsaw. Look at that. I don't know if it's the right way or not, or if it's mirror writing. And as you said, it's coming out in April. I think April 10th is the release date from Anhinga. A little bit about this book. It started, it opens with a poem after the 2016 election results, and it ends with the echoes of the spring 2020 riots when we were all in lockdown. And through it out, it's all the things that I was like concerned about, and it's very American. It's set in America, very different from Fixed Star. And it's almost like a book of witness of what was happening. So I'm going to start with the first poem, and it's called Dear America. Dear America, it's time to teach my daughter how to shoot an arrow, how to use a knife, how to hit the center of a target. It's bloody work, but she should know. It's time to teach her how to win a debate while applying lipstick without a mirror, and how to hold her keys between her fingers in a parking lot. It's time for her to hit the weight room, join the cross-country team, cast a spell, literally and figuratively, and it's time for her to develop telekinesis and clairvoyance. It's time she knows to never leave her drink unattended, never drink on an empty stomach, never drink before her period, and maybe what I mean to say is never drink alcohol, period. It's time to learn that one day she might have to switch grocery stores because a guy on staff there gives her the creeps. And even if it's less convenient to travel across town, it's always best to trust her intuition. It's time to teach her that when a grown man stares at her new breasts, she is not the one who should feel ashamed. America, she's her mother's daughter. She's got this. The next poem I'm going to read actually was published in SoFloPoJo. It's called Museum Mile, New York City. All the women wear summer dresses, and men play ping pong in Bryant Park. Sun and sky in harmony. We stroll and forget it's all dire. It's the day the sex trafficker pedophile is found dead in his cell. Perhaps that's why the city has all its outdoors umbrellas up and everyone dines outside. Beauty so bright I wear sunglasses. I wrap my denim jacket around my waist and leave my own prison, no service. All I can do is let sun kiss my skin and believe every day on the Upper East Side must be this fine. Later, when I see a dog sitting across his owner on the train, I smile, because who wouldn't? It's very cheerful, this book. A lot of happy, light moments. Yeah, this was written after the movie Magnolia, a movie from the 1990s that I happened to see and was inspired to write it because it seemed like nothing had changed. The story of a fire and what it took to contain the fire. The neighbors heard the arguments of the tenants as they usually did. This can't be one of those things. Please, let it not be one of those things. These strange things happen all the time. Do you have an answer? The answer is gravity. Let me tell you something. It's not an easy job. I am a happy cop. Calm down. You want to test me? Calm yourself down. Are you alone in there? Are you lying to me? I am not asking. Move. I'm here to check on a disturbance. I asked you to sit. Stay right there. What the hell is this? I am up all night staring. I don't want to do this. Sit here. I reach for the pen. When is the last time you talked to your son? That's another thing that goes. Time. I can't hold on to this. Thank you. The next poem I'm going to read was written after the El Paso mass shooting. I had resisted for many years writing about the mass shootings because we lived very close, 15 minutes away from Sandy Hook. And my daughter was in first grade at that time. So I just didn't want to give attention to the shooters. But I want to give you a little bit of a warning for language, content warning, and also just for violence. Backcountry. The shooter was white. We live in a verdant forest, 20 minutes from everything. Summer's leaves screen the road. Every sunrise caught and cradled in branches. Our perimeter lined with stacked stone walls. When it all finally goes to shit, that's something anyway, not being an easy target. The shooter was a loner. The shooter didn't talk to anyone. He was in his 20s, wrote a manifesto, streamed his shooting live. His mother bought the guns. He graduated from the high school. No one would fuck him. No one raised him that way. No one followed up. No one can believe it happened. They never thought it would happen here. At the carnival, the strangest of places to escape news, colored lights corral the dusk. Dark clouds speed toward us. Lightning flickers sky. We gather our children and drive home. So you've seen me flub a lot because this is the first time I'm really reading from this book. I'm just getting used to the words in my mouth. But this next poem was inspired by Keith Richards. I wrote it after reading his biography, Life. A little information on this. When I lived in Connecticut for many years. And he and I shared a forest because he has his Connecticut estate nearby in a different town. It's called Keith Richards, I Was With You. I was with you, Keith Richards, even when you rhapsodize about those sweet honeys who fed you and warmed you on the road with their soft bodies. Those were different times, and I forgive you. Keith Richards, I believe you about Mick Jagger. Frontmen always get ahead of themselves. Keith Richards, I too only ingested high quality pharmaceutical grade Coke and wouldn't touch what passes for euphoria on the streets today. Keith Richards, I was with you like a friend as you presented the best version of Keith. May I call you Keith? I was with you all the way until you opened your garden gate and stepped into my primeval forest, that happy hunting ground of the Iroquois, the old Indian burial ground turned nature preserve backing up to your house. I was with you, Keith Richards, and the deep lake and the waterfall. Keith Richards, I stood apart from you when you and George decided to catch fish named Oscars, so big and so tasty. I was off to the side when instead you caught the mythical snapping turtle, often spoken of, seldom seen, green and slimy. It lumbers out of the lake with your fish, a prehistoric creature, its mouth about to pop and snap. You drop your rod, pick up a rock, and crack the turtle on its shell. It sinks into the lake, immense, ancient, last seen by the Iroquois. And that is where I left you, Keith Richards. Can you believe it? Keith Richards. Okay. The next poem I'm going to read is called Cops, but it's cops as in a stand of trees. Cops. When Congress slipped a note to sell off federal lands, to deforest, to develop, and to cut enlightenment from the American landscape, I began to memorize definitions for the words copse, gully, rill, rivulet, orchard, maple, oak, linden. A place in Antarctica hoards every seed on this planet underground for the apocalypse. Last night, a tree fell in the windstorm. The crack sounded like a split in the universe. It fell in the road and blocked traffic like a protest. This morning, the town came and ground it down to stump. It's still windy. The trees sway outside my windows, rendering their own march, waving, waving, we are here, we are over here. You're very lucky I'm not reading the 5-page poem. Not yet. Many of these poems mention my daughter. She's my youngest daughter. A lot of the things that were going on at the time with Christine Blasey Ford and her testimony triggered a lot of memories of someone who grew up in the 80s. You know, I was like, I knew that guy. Everybody knew that guy. I totally believed everything she said. And I had a daughter who was a senior in high school. And, you know, I was thinking about her going off to college. So some of these poems are about her. Nocturne. The coyotes create an auditory fence. Two rowdy boys sound like a pack, and some beings are happy tonight. What scent do they catch? Their howls echo, echo yowls. This is their territory. It must have some view, not like the view of the old cape on the cliff, its shingles weathered driftwood gray. That view, a stream of exhausts, trucks, cars. On a clear day, you can gaze at the strip mall. The view here tonight is the glow of my cigarette, like the most boring firefly, moving up and down, never zip, no zag. The coyotes swallow the sounds of the forest, overtake it like frat boys pick off freshman girls. Once a star of her class, now a chime in the distance. Take a little step. And a lot of these are centered on the Centennial State Forest, the watershed Centennial State Forest, where I lived in very close proximity. So there's a lot of forest in these poems. Forest, early autumn. I fix on the overstory, how the trees slip their reds and yellows on bit by bit. Once I was a detail in the understory. I bloomed in shade like some weird poisonous plant, and also the victor of a fable written before I was conceived, before I germinated in the scat that covered the whole of my childhood. Why did my father strive to drag me back to Hades at twilight on Wednesday night? I want to write about the forest, the way leaves change in a seductive slow dance in early autumn. I want to explore root systems, how parent trees guide nutrients to their sapling. I want to tell you trees grow close to each other over great distance and many years. He tried to drown me in his bottle of sorrows. He keeps it by his side while he ticks columns of who wronged him, how, and why. Trauma is delicate. 20 years can pass, and like a hair trigger pistol, someone explodes. Someone says, enough. This next poem I'm going to read is titled, it borrows a line from a poem from Dorian Locke. It's called The Dark Horse I Rode In On. I learned my mother died on her birthday. Her dying wish, no one tell me she died. The intention to hurt me one last time. Joke's on her. I am relieved to be relieved from social burdens, the attending condolences. She had no stint of empathy for any living thing. My greatest achievement was to shatter the dysfunction my parents set in motion when they met by chance in Texas, where she lived and where he was transporting arms for Castro. So much was possible then. Before we had to take our shoes off to board a plane, we overstayed and were eyed by a black cat across the street. In 2 years, in the shadows, in the morning, as the bus pulls out of the depot, I see you again. You, the ocean, you, a secret, an old sage. Like the scent of gardenia beyond a wooden gate. It was that plain. How funny. The next poem I'm going to read was originally published in Swim, where Jen's the editor. We had gone to I had gone to the Whitney Museum, and there's this tiny little painting that drew me towards it, and it was so arresting that I could not stop thinking about it. So I learned everything I could about it, and it's called Winter Fields, 1940 True, Andrew Wyeth. To view winter fields is to feel your face pressed to the grass, to the ground. Can I start over? To view winter fields is to feel your face pressed to the ground, the grass lace-like, the black crow, the distant trees and structures on the horizon focus to distort, and the chokecherries glow, beacon clues brighter for a background of blue-black feathers. The worm's eye view. Some say the crow is frozen, rigor mortis set on dead landscape. I swear it's poisoned. Wyeth's light makes chokecherries look at least half ripe. Even a clever crow, a very hungry, clever crow, would be duped. The crow, at best, is resting. If crows rest in line with horizon, his claws crossed. I know this call of winter, how the body longs to lie down. Half light. The first bright sun of the year, and I am unable to face it. Sunlight glitters in gutter streams and thin snowbanks, just enough to reveal their entrails, decayed leaves, blackened branches. By afternoon, the sun is unable to break through the clouds. As we leave to pick up my son, my daughter catches snowflakes on her tongue. In the backyard, a woodpecker coaxes a beetle out of the pine bark. Sometimes no amount of burrowing will suffice. February, the month where giving into dormancy is most seductive. It feels farthest from spring. I remind myself the earthworms are busy aerating the soil, and that dormancy is a form of conservation. I remind myself to pick up my son, to go to the bank, the post office, the market. These small trips, daily and ordinary, get me through the longest month. The afternoon's hush, interrupted by snowplow and small children running through the house, fills in the night. I wake before dawn to find our neighborhood buffed in silence, its hard edges softened. With sunrise comes the rhythmic scrape of shovels against pavement. The snow appears brighter in the half-light. The wind tosses up sparkling motes. This next poem was written during our shutdown when we were all wondering about our neighbors. We're all kind of curious, what are they doing over there? What are our neighbors doing? What's happening? It's called To Breathe It Would Choke You. The fire outside my window burns all afternoon. Thick white smoke curls up through the trees. What is our neighbor burning? My body is heavy now. The hard-won posture slumps in a chair. On the desk, a lamp brushed nickel with parallel coil springs. The black cord trails behind. Its spotlight shines away from me. Outside my window, the forest understory, a new green. This week, tree buds unfurl, and today, fire blazes. Flames 6 feet high, fed by what? Now visible only through a gap of a fallen tree at rest and the stone wall. The smoke curls and curls. To breathe it would choke you. My daughter is singing in her room, the last bird call of the evening. I should have set my timer. I know that you're very generous with your time. I think I have 2 more poems for you guys. I've heard it said that every poet has a doe poem. So this one is mine. Doe. Caught between stumble and rise, the doe young, the day entering twilight. We drive north, others south, cars driving home in the corridor of woods. Her struggle to right herself loops like a reel. It was that fey time, how her heart must reel when she realizes she's left forest, the road's vibration like the scrape of metal on teeth for her hooves. Wood scent within reach. She is righting herself as cars speed past her, speed toward her in that dangerous time, twilight, the refraction and scatter of sun rays when the sun slips below horizon, another reel winds in another day. Time of most fatal car accidents, tired drivers, blinded by sun on the road. Her natural grace abandoned her. She favors her left side, the doe in the midst of riding herself. Her eyes on the woods. The fae hold their breath. Sunlight refracts. The sun edges horizon, twilight, and she stumbled. She is half rising. The doe favors her left side in the midst of rising. This reel loops and loops all evening. Her leg, the struggle in the road I drove past, tired, heading home, other cars, other drivers, tired, driving north, driving south, cars on pavement in a corridor of woods, and she caught in the middle with shattered sun rays and the horizon at twilight. Her heart, my heart, reels. In my rearview mirror, the doe. I drove past the doe after she stumbles, and as the cars rush towards her, and like a wheel that breaks, I never learn if she returns to the woods. She is forever caught, half rising, at twilight, in the middle of the road. And this will be my last poem for the evening. Thank you guys for being such a wonderful, attentive audience. Thank you. Home ground. This bird call would be mistaken for a fading bottle rocket. And the peepers will sing their Greek chorus. There is a lot to be said for the preserve. It has more than a little of a lot of good things. Water, of course, ripples. This is how in geography, the low takes the high. Do you remember the morning after the ice storm? How the wind through the branches sounded like the parting of bead curtains? June now, and all over America, helicopter blades cut through birdsong. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you. I've read all the poems in your book many times, and it's so nice to hear them in your voice, and they just come alive for me. So thank you.
Thank you.